Hey guys, it is Sunday, May 31st, last day of May, and our 77th day of programming at Home Fitness with Coach A. So, Sunday, which means today is an active recovery day. Two different directions we can go here. If you're beat up, feel a little sore, maybe did Murph earlier in the beginning of the week, tried to work through it pretty well, feel a lot stronger for it, but also need an active recovery day, then you're probably a lot like me. That's what the active recovery stuff is programmed for. If you didn't work out all those days, you still feel like you want to get something more accomplished today, then there is an optional strength piece. So, with the optional strength piece, I want you guys to think about a couple things. Is there something strength wise that is getting in my way, upper body wise? All right. Is it the upright rows we've been working on? Are they so much weaker than everything else I do? Is that the limiting factor to my power cleans, et cetera, et cetera? Okay. If there's something along those lines, feel free to take 10, 20 minutes and work on that today. It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific set of rep scheme programmed at a certain percentage. It can also be something that maybe you lack a little bit of skill with, that needs to be developed so that your strength can then improve because you're able to do the movement better. All right, so just spend some time accumulating reps, maybe working up in weight if you can. If you can't, just keep doing it. Get a little bit stronger with that. If you have some core goals, which I've heard from a lot of people, maybe we'll have some semblance of a beach season this year, maybe not. But either way, we want to have abs. Spend 10, 20 minutes working on some core work. Just keep in mind, a lot of times when we do core work, we also tighten up the front side of our hips. So you want to make sure you're ready to recover from that as well, which you'll be able to do if you're going to do what I'm going to explain with the active recovery. So let's move on to that. In a little bit, you guys are going to see a video of me demonstrating the different pieces, but let's go over them first. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to map out a 200-meter course if you haven't yet, and I want you to run it lightly. Lightly means it should probably take you anywhere in the realm of twice as long as it would if you were running it hard in the middle of a workout. Okay? So run it lightly. All right? Now, when we first start this, I'm going to program a 3-minute light jog warm-up. That can serve for your first 200-meter run, because what you're going to do is you're going to run 3 minutes. When you get back, you're probably going to feel soreness in certain muscle groups. What I want you to do is start working on those muscle groups. You're going to spend 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll give you examples in a second, of soft tissue work and stretching, tissue then stretching, if you will, before going on another or a first 200-meter light run. When you get back, you're going to check, recheck, assess, reassess. Did the mobility work I did in those last 2 or 3 minutes help enough that I'm not sore? I don't feel discomfort in that muscle group anymore. Awesome, move on to another one, right? If it's still there, work on it again. If you work on it 3 times and it's not going away, then it's probably not going to go away today, in which case move on to something else. Otherwise, rotate through stuff. Now, here's what we're looking at for different options today. We have hips, so piriformis, essentially the external rotators on the glutes. I will demonstrate those in a bit, and then a pigeon stretch paired up with that for the external rotation hip stretch. We have quads. You can roll, smash your quads, and then stretch them out. I'm going to suggest a leaning hip flexor stretch. You can also do a normal upright hip flexor stretch or a couch stretch against the wall or couch. Hamstrings, a roll or a smash with your knee, feet, upper leg on the edge of a bench where the lacrosse ball is under here and you're picking the legs up and letting them come back down. All right. Something targeted followed by a hamstring stretch. My preference is leg up in the air, but if you guys don't have a band or a strap, you can do that however you want. Calf, roller smash, and then stretch. And then finally, working on the bottom of the feet. All right, smashing or rolling something out down there and then trying to stretch the musculature on the bottom of the feet. If we want to technically flush this out the proper way, at least in terms of what it seems like research is dictating these days. You want to work from the bottom up. You want to flush it back to your center of mass, your core. I find that I tend to get better work done when I work from big muscles to small muscles, like quarter extremity, if you will. That's why it's in that order. But it's up to you guys, however you want to do it. If you want to jump around because you're feeling different things in tension, you're feeling different things with soreness and stiffness, and then all of a sudden they go away, something else pops up, that's what this is for. It's basically an exploratory exercise to work out some of the issues that we have. Now, how long should I go? I said probably no more than 3 rounds each piece. That's about 2 to 3 minutes you want to spend doing stuff before you go out and run again. Probably no more than maybe something in the range of about 30 minutes total, or about a mile worth of running for most people, which would be 8 rounds of that. Okay. Once most of us probably get to that point, we're starting to create new fatigue and new issues. We're not necessarily fleshing out or working on the stuff that we're trying to work on anymore. Just kind of a general assessment or idea in terms of fatigue. Okay. If you're still getting benefit out of it, keep going. Do it as long as you want, as long as you're actually improving instead of getting worse. All right. If you have any questions, post in the comments or send me a message.
All right, guys, we are talking mobility that's going to get paired with the jogging today. So everything that is programmed is going to follow a soft tissue work and stretch correlation. Obviously, we're going to go each leg, so it's often going to be soft tissue, stretch right, soft tissue, stretch left. All right. The first thing we're talking about is piriformis. If you guys find the back about where a pocket is, you're going to notice hard versus soft when we work backwards onto the glute. Okay, if you follow that soft tissue up to the corner, upper outside corner of the glute, you're going to find the piriformis. From there, we can take a ball, set it under, and work around up and down, side to side a little bit, or a roller in the same place, which might actually be a little easier to roll around with. If you want to deepen the stretch, you can always figure 4 that leg across the knee. Now, from there, we're going into a half pigeon stretch to open up the external rotation in the hip. Second one is going to be the quads, which means I'm basically just going to lay on top and roll from there. Keep in mind, outside of the quad, lower inside teardrop, if you will, portion of the quad, and then up into the hip, all needs to be worked on possibly. If we're going to use a ball, keep in mind that's a lot more targeted. Might be a lot more uncomfortable, but it also might be more effective. I would suggest probably a softer ball first if you're not used to this. Be careful when we're rolling the quads and in the hamstrings in a second that we're not doing too much work on the IT band. It is possible to bruise that as opposed to the quad and the hamstring, which are a little bit more resilient in that regard. Now, stretch that goes with the quad work is marked as a leaning or aggressive hip flexor stretch. This is the grab with the opposite hand, heel to butt, and fall forward into that anterior hip stretch. We can always do a couch stretch or a general hip flexor stretch if that is something you can't get into. Now, when it comes to the hamstring, work, just like the quad, we can roll top to bottom, or in position, we can get a little bit of active smashing, as I like to call it. You're going to take a lacrosse ball. You're going to sit on the end of a bench or a chair or something that is high enough that if I'm sitting, my foot is in the air floating. I'm going to pin that ball into position. Picture me on the edge of a bench. Extend the knee, let it fall. Extend the knee, let it fall. That mobilization will help me loosen up the hamstring from there. And the stretch that appropriately goes along with this is if we have a band hanging back, stretching that straight leg up in the air, keeping in mind the opposite leg is down on the ground straight, pointing to the ceiling, as well as the leg that is being stretched up, an extended knee, toes back. Range of motion isn't necessarily everything on that. A lot of times people overestimate how far they can actually take that leg. Second to last one is going to be the calves. We can smash and roll in 2 different manners. We can go top to bottom, or we can pin that leg in place and roll side to side across a roller or a kettlebell handle even. From here, stretching is pretty simple. You guys have all done this before. Stand, push back into the ankle to stretch the calf and or Achilles. We can also do it in a down dog type position, walking out the ankles. Final piece is going to be the feet. Something that obviously I'm gonna have to take my shoes off for. Most of us probably do not do enough. Trying to roll and or smash the arch of the foot, loosen up the musculature that comes underneath the feet into the toes. From there, I can stretch out that musculature, similar to doing ankle stretches, or I can then again get into an Achilles or calf stretch, since we're talking about musculature that's connected coming all the way down into the bottom of the feet. All right, remember, probably about half an hour or a mile worth of 200 meters is about all most of us will want to do, because at some point we're going to start creating new fatigue that is going to be counterproductive as opposed to the active recovery that we're trying to do.